Hello everybody, thank you very much for coming back to my channel to watch another episode from my series Quick Thoughts On, in which I always talk about different stories from the rich Star Trek universe. 30 years and a few days ago, the next episode of Star Trek The Next Generation aired. It was the first episode of the second season, it was called The Child, and these are my honest opinions about it. And because this time I have a lot of things to say, this video was split into two parts. This is the second part. If you haven't seen the first part, visit the link you see in the description or click the eye icon you should see on screen right now. And let's get finally to the actual plot of the episode. I ended the previous part when the new doctor told to Captain Picard that Troi is pregnant. So how does he deal with this intimate and delicate situation? He calls out all of the senior officers to a conference. Troi sits at the back of the table like she stinks or something, and I love the fact that when Picard says that she is pregnant, nobody reacts. So then he says that she will have a baby. Now suddenly everybody reacts and is surprised, mainly her old Imzari, Commander Riker. It feels like they don't know what pregnancy means. It's unintentionally hilarious. What is not funny is the behavior of her crewmates. She was basically raped by an alien and they are all friends. So where is any form of moral support? Harry Imzari even looks at her like she has done something wrong, even though she looks like she desperately needs a hug. The rest of them are even worse. Dr. Pulaski shows that her baby is growing rapidly and that she will give birth within the next 36 hours instead of the standard Betazoid 10 months. So what do the others do? They start to talk about what's the best way of abortion. They talk about it in front of a pregnant woman without even asking her about her opinion, almost like her opinion doesn't matter. She has to actually interrupt them and tell them to fuck off. She tells them that they should do anything what they think is necessary for saving the ship, but she's going to keep the baby. They all look surprised, like the thought of allowing her to keep it didn't even cross their minds. I must tell, this is one of the strangest scenes I have ever seen. It starts unintentionally funny and ends up with me desperately wanting a shower, but we get one important bit of information. The baby is half human and half Betazoid, and there is no alien DNA in him. His DNA is identical to Troi's, and of course, because I'm using the word he, it's a boy. What? How can it be a boy? If his DNA is identical to his mother's DNA, shouldn't he be a girl? To be more precise, a girl who is a perfect clone of Deanna? Whatever, I guess. The Enterprise arrives to the station where they should pick up the virus samples, and a grumpy old man, who first wants to check several times the whole container before he allows it. Troi is meanwhile getting very pregnant. She looks like she's going to have the baby any moment, so she returns to her quarters. At least that's the plan. When later Picard sends Data to go to Dr. Pulaski and check with her the full list of the viruses, Data meets Troi on her way to the sickbay. The baby wants out. When they arrive on sickbay, Pulaski insults Data. Again, it looks like she honestly doesn't like men in this episode, and that includes male androids. She wants to throw him out, but Troi needs somebody at her side instead of the father. Data calls Worf as it was requested by the captain, but when Worf and his security guys arrive, Pulaski has a chance to be very rude to more men. Hooray? The birth process is very simple and without any problems, and after it's done and little Ian is born, Troi realizes that Riker was secretly watching her from the side. And to be honest, the shots of him silently watching while she gets birth are simply perfect. These shots tell the story purely using visuals, and you will know everything you want to know about the feelings Riker has towards Troi, just by looking at his face during this scene and after it. Worf checks out the newborn baby and he looks angry when he leaves. What does he look like? I mean, Why is he angry? Was he looking forward to shoot something or what? I don't get his expression. In a few hours, Dr. Pulaski and Picard want to check the mother and son, but surprise, surprise, the boy looks like he's 40 years old and he can talk. Data and Pulaski share a scene together, checking the list of the viruses, which means that she gets chance to insult him again. Don't forget, we are supposed to like her, right? Well, at least we are told that Data's name is the British Data and not the American Data. Data then gets to Transporter Room 3, where we see another changed person. The Irish actor called Colm Meaney, who played different parts in Season 1, has received a character name, Miles O'Brien, and I don't know if canonically all of the appearances in Season 1 were supposed to be Miles, or if it was just Colm doing different roles, but since Season 2, this role will be forever Miles O'Brien, and he will work as the transporter chief, at least on the Enterprise, until he gets promoted again and moved to Deep Space Nine, where he will take the role of the chief of operations. But now he needs help, because the computer refused to beam dangerous biological material to the ship, and he didn't have the needed authorization, so Data had to step in. Meanwhile, we get puppies! The scene serves only one point, to tell us that Ian likes to touch everything and that he grew up during the time he was there. But at least we get to see puppies. That's a plus, right? At supper, they get another visit from Dr. Pulaski and Captain Picard, and Ian tells them that he's not yet ready to tell them why he's on the ship, before he intentionally burns his finger. He then also intentionally wets his pants, but that got deleted. We haven't seen Wesley for a while, so we cut to 10 forward, where he stares into a blue screen. Guinan hasn't seen such a nice blue screen for a long time, so she joins him. They talk, and she helps him to understand that sometimes it's the right thing to not do what is expected from you, but to do what do you think it's the correct thing for you. He was supposed to leave the ship and go to Starfleet Medical to live with his mother, but he would rather stay on the Enterprise. Guinan changes his mind, and they talk a bit about her backstory. The writers change her backstory in the future episodes, so it's just a waste of screen time. The more important thing is that despite checking the container, one of the samples starts to grow. They can't stop it, they can't destroy it, and they can't beam it to space. Dr. Pulaski examines the virus and thinks that it's being stimulated by Eichner radiation. At the same time, Ian, while being put in bed, says to his mother that he's the reason why many people are in danger and that he has to leave her. As soon as Deanna realizes that he just said that he plans to die, she panics and calls the doctor. The doctor arrives with both Riker and Data and tries to examine him, but she can't do anything for him. Very soon Ian changes back to the star thingy, enters Troy's hands, communicates with her telepathically and leaves the ship. Troy explains that he wanted to explore them, and the best thing how to do it for him was to get born and live his life as one of the humanoid creatures. And I must say, people make fun of Marina's acting maybe even more than they make fun of Shatner, but to me, her performance in this episode is simply perfect. When Ian leaves the ship, the virus stops growing, and the transportation is a huge success. Grumpy old man beams away, so this is the end, right? Well, no, we have to deal with Wesley first. He asks Picard if he can stay on the ship, and we get a cringiest scene which I've seen in a long time. Everything about this scene is wrong. Picard publicly humiliates him. He asks Data to care about his studies. That would be relatively normal, but then he asks who will tag him at night. What the actual... And then Worf says that he will take the responsibility. I'm sorry, what? I guess that's not creepy at all, right? And then he asks who will take care of his growing up? Come on, do you have to humiliate him like that? Well, at least the episodes end with him having the right to stay on the ship. Well, this was a long video. I'm sorry I did split it into 2 parts, but there were so many things I wanted to talk about when I started to talk about this episode. I don't know what is the consensus among fans of this episode. I am kind of torn about it myself. There are things I genuinely love about this episode, and there are things I hate about this episode. I get that it was really hard to write this one because it had to do so many things at the same time. It had to introduce new characters, it had to do a lot of explanations, and it still had to tell an interesting story. I really like most of the acting and directing, especially the moments between the 2 Troys, or between Deanna and Riker. I especially like Marina's acting in this, except for one scene. The scene in which she realizes that Ian will die. She first looks like she will burst out laughing, but then she quickly changes into crying. That's the only shot I have a problem with, acting-wise. And why is this episode called The Child when Ian's storyline is one of the least important storylines in this episode? On my standard scale from 0 to 10, where 0 is complete garbage, 10 is a masterpiece, and 5 is just average, I would give this episode 6 out of 10. I think it's above average, especially compared to the standard set up by the first season, but not that much. But as always, these were just my opinions. Let me know what you think about this episode. Did you love it, hate it, or think it's just average? Write your opinions down in the comment section. If you enjoyed this video, please hit that thumbs up button, and if you have some free time, you can watch any of the other videos you can find on my channel. You should see some links on screen right now. Thank you very much for watching, and see you very soon, hopefully tomorrow. Thanks again, and bye.